Let's get to your second question. What's the next thing you want to know?
Okay. The second thing I want to know is something that I don't know if I should even think like this.
Hmm.
And I'm going to be like vulnerable and ask you this anyway, which is as a coach, sometimes I notice that of course, I collaborate with the people and then we create a transformation
Hmm.
and then it's good for them, but it's bad for business. How do you keep bringing back people to you when there's transformation, then they just move on? Like,
Hmm.
how do you present your offering in a way that there's a recurring component to it, not
Hmm.
just a one-time 2-month project, and then they learn the tactics and now they are moving. I feel a little guilty when asking this because I don't
No,
want.
you shouldn't, because I think a lot of people think that this way
Yeah,
and love this question. I love the opportunity to talk about this.
cool.
And I don't think there's a single right answer or right way to do this. So we're gonna talk through it. But the first thing I would say is getting someone a positive result that they want or a transformation is never a bad thing,
Mm,
no matter what. It's never, and not just, never a bad thing for your business. So
mm,
while it may seem like I was able to solve this person's problem in 10 minutes, let's go to the extreme, right? I was able to solve this person's problem in 10 minutes. And so I can't charge them for 10 months of work. That's not a bad thing,
mm,
big picture, right? Maybe you lose them as a recurring client, but they tell other people. So that's the first thing. Like anytime
mm.
you deliver the positive result, it's a good thing, even if it might seem like financially it's not. So let me ask you a question. Let's take a sort of step back, even from the specifics of you, right? And let's talk about coaching in general. Should coaching be an ongoing, forever business? Or is the point of the coach someone that helps you achieve a specific result? Is there an endpoint, or do you view it as something that you do forever? And there's not a right or wrong answer, but I
Right.
think it's a helpful question to consider. And I'm curious how you think about that.
So if I was at the receiving end in this
Mhm.
scenario, right? See, I'm the kind of person enjoys and appreciates having a coach because to me, a coach is
Mhm.
almost like a sparring partner. You and I are doing right now.
Yeah.
And no matter how much positive results I've gained and accumulated, let's say I went from 36K to 100K followers,
Mhm.
I will still be wrestling with some newer problems. And
Mhm.
that will require me to push myself a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think the framing that I have, which is now coming to me, by the way, just live, is that
Yeah.
I think of a coach as in the gym, like you have a trainer
Yep.
and they're just like supporting you. They're like
Mhm.
squatting you, right? It's the term. Like when you're doing like a press, whatever.
Mhm.
That's the picture that I have. And if you're a boxer, if you're a world class elite athlete, you want someone who is strong enough to challenge you, compete with you, not compete, but like challenge
Mhm.
you, love to brainstorm with you, and spar with you. And that's not a 3-month project, not a 10-year
Mhm.
project. That's my perception. And actually, now that I
Okay.
think out loud with you, I think that's the kind of clients I want.
Okay.
So anybody else just looking at this as a short term 3-month hack will not win.
Yes.
I won't enjoy the relationship there.
So this is perfect. And this is another one of those line in the sand moments, right?
Mm,
The truth is, a compelling case can be made that coaching is not an ongoing forever thing. Just like a trainer, there are people who are like, I want a trainer to get me started, to show me what to do, and then I'm good. And then there's other people that are like, I want an ongoing trainer
right.
forever. Therapy is another one. There are people like, I need to go to therapy for a little while to figure this out. And there's other people that like therapy is an ongoing thing. It's going to
Yeah.
help me
Yeah.
forever.
I'm
Right.
definitely the later camp, but you're in therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
So, right. But what I think is helpful is you, again, either one, you as a coach can succeed with either model, but you have a belief, or the people you want to work with are the ones, and I'm even separating the financial piece of it, are the ones that believe that. So in your messaging and your presentation of coaching, you want to draw that line in the sand
Mm,
and go, I believe that coaching works best done in this way.
mhm. They're gonna eat this up. If I write this out, like, oh
Right.
my God,
So
I can
those
already
people will,
imagine like the
right.
10 people that I know really well who will like eat this up if I put this out there, Josh. But I
Right.
haven't said it in these words, like to your point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the key in understanding that, like, I want to serve the people that want that thing. there's some people that aren't going to want that and they're not going to want that commitment, and that's fine. They can go hire a different coach and do a different thing. Separating the business piece of it, I do think it seems like you believe that's the kind of coach that you like to have. That's the kind of coach that you want to be, which completely makes sense. As a thought exercise, if you weren't sure, I think it's helpful to separate and go, is the only reason you want ongoing so you don't have to chase new clients. Some people would fall into that trap,
Mm.
right? If you were, again, this goes back to assume success. If I
Right.
guaranteed you the same number of clients and the same amount of money every month, whether you had the same people ongoing forever or just a steady flow of new people coming in, it's an interesting question to think, which
Mm.
option would you choose? So that removes the sort of financial incentive, which for
Mm.
lots of people, that's what's dictating it, right? I
Yeah.
want recurring so I don't have to keep, it's
Getting
dependable and I
right.
don't have to keep getting stuff. Think you're on, again, this is something for you to think about.
Right.
I think you're on the end that you do truly believe that sort of longer coaching makes more sense,
Right.
but you want it for yourself, pull it apart and go, do I really believe that? Or do I just think that's an easier business?
Yeah. That's a brilliant question to ponder on. I think all the signs in my personal like consumer life, not as a creator, not as a
Mhm,
businessman. I've had the same therapist for years. I've had the
mhm.
same I actually have a coach and I
Yeah.
have the same person. I actually test a couple of people once I like them, once I lock it
Mhm.
in, build trust with them.
Yeah.
They're with me for a long time, which is so I'm kind of the camp where I like to work with people for the long
Yeah. It
this
sounds like you probably are.
right.
It's helpful to
Right.
think
No, it's a good
through.
point though, but I think there's also probably a little bit of blend in there where I'm like, ah, it's hard to go
Yep.
get new clients. But that's a separate business problem altogether. Like you, to your,
Right. And not necessarily true.
not necessarily true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, for example, I do not, for the most part, have ongoing retainer clients. Most people that I work with, even if it's a full on strategy, it's a couple months.
Yeah.
And for me, I do that. I might do additional projects with them, but for the most part, from a business standpoint, people would be like, oh, you should go get someone on a retainer and all that stuff. But for me, I like working with different people.
The variety,
Um,
the
so
variety.
I like the variety. And I also feel like, again, the work I want to do, the high level strategy stuff, in most cases, like I can get you where you need to go. I'm not doing it for you. So, but that's my personal choice. I could
Yeah.
definitely go the other
Right.
route as well. One is not better than the other.
Right.
But so let's operate now under the assumption for the moment that you believe that your line in the sand is you believe coaching is a more long-term thing and an ongoing thing. So now what you want to do is as you draw that line in the sand, you want to make that case and essentially the story that you're building around this is comparing yourself to other one-off coaching and justifying and explaining this is why I do it this way and this is why I think
Mm.
it's better. So let me riff here a little bit of like how that narrative would work, right?
Mm.
So if I were you, I'd be saying things like, and this is both in your messaging, in your marketing, your positioning, and your content. Here's what typically happens when someone hires a coach. They do a few sessions, they get excited, they make a little progress, then the coaching stops and it all falls apart and they go right back to where they were.
Mm.
I believe truly effective coaching has to happen on an ongoing basis and requires a longer term commitment.
Mm.
Phil Jackson didn't just coach the Lakers in the preseason and let them go on their own for the rest of the season,
Right.
right? My coaching and my approach to coaching is for people who are ready to make that commitment,
Right.
for people who want results, not just to feel like they did something to get results and check the box, but they want to actually continue to do it and grow and help address
That sounds
those new
so
problems.
much like me. That's why I'm like, oh, laughing.
Right.
I'm like, that's so much like me. Yeah.
But you can see how that's how you take a line in the sand concept and bring it to life. The people that believe that are going to be way into that.
Yeah.
And they've probably made those mistakes.
Yeah.
They've hired a coach, it started good and then they stopped and everything
Right.
fell apart. They
Right.
want that different level of thing. And then there's going to be other people that are like, I'm not committing to a year. I
Yeah.
don't want to, whatever. The next thing is once you decide the direction you want to go. So if you're going to emphasize longer term coaching relationships, you should package and price your services accordingly. For
Mm.
example, you might say, this is what I believe. So I only take on clients with a minimum 6-month commitment,
Mm.
or I only take on clients with a minimum 1-year commitment. That's scary because you think it might scare people off, but the people it's going to scare off are the ones you didn't want to work with anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
So the key is in all of this, figure out what you really want, how you want to structure your coaching, how and why you believe that structure is the most effective, not just
Yeah.
for you, but for clients. Message the reason that you believe that, and then align the structure of your service to reflect that, right?
Mm,
This is where you want to be careful. If
right.
you're out there saying, I believe effective coaching really requires a longer commitment, but I'm happy to talk to you for 15 minutes.
Mm,
That sends a mixed message and undercuts your own beliefs.
right.
Not that you can't talk to someone for 15 minutes.
Right.
You can, but you can see how you're creating some dissonance. Alignment is really important